Hello, it is Monica and I am here with a reading wrap-up video for the months of January to March, where I hit my reading goal and have gone beyond it, and I'm very happy about that because this time last year I think I read 2 books and I bought 5 this time last year if I remember correctly. So let's get started with the first one. There are 9 books, so I want to try and get through them quickly. The first book that I read was This Is How You Lose the Time War. This is by Amal L. Mokhtar and Max Gladstone. I really liked this book. I thought it was cute, a time traveling story of these 2 agents of rivaling organizations, but they grew to love each other. And I know it's a standalone and the ending's supposed to be open, but I would really just love more of their adventures, even if it was, just short stories of just adventures that they go on. That was the only book that I read and finished in January, because the next book that I started took me a while to read because I'm not good with big books. But that was Babel by R.F. Kuang, and I have been meaning to read this book for a while, so I'm glad that it was the second one that I picked in my Flip or Flop challenge, and I so enjoyed this one. And the work and the research that R.F. Kuang put into this book as well to make it seem like this happened in history, in our history, but that there's just a little magic. I really liked it, and the characters, I thought they were also wonderful and unique in so many different ways, and I'm sad that I'm not hanging out with the cohort anymore. The next book that I read was my first flop of the year, and not because the book was bad. It wasn't bad, the premise was good. I didn't vibe with the characters. The characters weren't for me, but that was The Inheritance Games by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. So the story's great, young girl randomly gets this rich man's inheritance after he passes, and she has to solve puzzles in order to keep it, and his grandsons are not happy with it. It's a good book, I just didn't care for the characters. So, the next book that I read, I don't know if I can fully classify it as just one book, but I did on the Storygraph, but that was On a Raven's Wing, and this is a short story collection of different authors writing in the style of or inspired by Edgar Allan Poe, and I do like Edgar Allan Poe, so I want to pick this up. However, with these stories, I liked, out of the 20 stories in here, I liked maybe 5 of them, and the other 15 I just didn't care about much. So while I would love to keep this on my shelf, I didn't love more than half the stories, so I will be donating this one, but it was also fun to read and see the inspiration from different Edgar Allan Poe stories in the book. Then the next book that I read, this was the first book that I finished in March, and that is The Martian by Andy Weir. And I had seen the movie this was based off of years ago. That noise you're hearing is Luke. Hi, honeys. So yeah, I watched the movie years ago, and I watched it once. I don't even know if I watched it all the way through, but I watched it. And so I picked this book up after I had seen the movie, and I knew it was kind of funny, and I was always like, oh, I saw the movie, maybe I'm not going to read the book, but I never remembered anything about the movie. So I read this, and I so enjoyed it. It was so funny seeing the way that Mark Watney would respond to the officials of NASA. Was so funny. And then when I finished it, because my sister loves The Martian, she and my mom came over to our house, and we watched the movie all together. What are you huffing and puffing about over there? It was really fun, and I did do the thing where I would sit there and go, well, in the book they did it this way. Well, this didn't happen in the book, because what else was I supposed to do? Just enjoy the movie in silence?
Yes, you are supposed to enjoy the movie in silence.
No, I'm supposed to tell you everything they did different. The next book that I read, I DNF'd because I just didn't care. I didn't care about the characters, the story. I wasn't intrigued enough to keep going to learn. and that is Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I know a lot of people love it. It's part of Reese Witherspoon's book club. She really likes it. I just couldn't get into it. But I know that it is a TV show now. This doesn't say where it's on. I think it's Hulu. So maybe I will watch the show and I will like it better in a visual format. Now, the next book that I read that helped me hit my reading goal is Legends and Lattes, and this is by, I always say the last name wrong, Travis Baldree. I always want to say Belvedere, but it's not Belvedere. This one, a lot of people know it. It's very popular. It is a cozy fantasy story about a battle orc retiring and opening up a coffee shop, except nobody in this town knows what coffee is. And I've seen reviews that people were annoyed with how often the main character would have to explain what coffee is and how many people were like, what's this? And like the, discovery of coffee was just so much, like it happened so much. I didn't feel like it was too much. I thought that it was just the right amount and that the characters were really lovable and, it definitely was a cozy fantasy. The copy that I have has the bonus prequel story of Pages to Fill, so I also read that one and included it in its own Storygraph listing because I can. So this one officially brought me over my reading goal as well as hit it. The next two books are together as they are part of a duology that I read, and I finished the last book on March 31st. So I was really cutting it close with this duology, but I wanted to finish it in March to include both of them in this video. But that is the Book of Tea duology by Judy I. Lin, which is A Magic Steeped in Poison and A Venom Dark and Sweet. And I didn't really know much about this series. I knew it was YA, the covers were really pretty, and that was about it. And then I found both books hardcover at a thrift store for really cheap, so I decided to buy them and give them a shot without knowing anything else. So reading this book, it is about our main character Ning, who goes to the palace for this magic tea making competition, and just following the events of the competition and learning of the political secrets that are happening. And then all of a sudden she's thrown into the midst of this world-saving mission. And she's also accused of murder. And the second book just follows that along. Oh, that's the back of the book. I really enjoyed this one. I did enjoy Venom Dark and Sweet, but this book, it was a mix of first person when we were in Ning's perspective, and then third person when we were in Kang's. So the way that it went from just first person, just Ning's perspective in the first book, to two different perspectives, one in first person, one in third person in the second one, that threw me a little bit. And I think I would have enjoyed the book more had it just been one person's perspective, or if both books had been in multiple perspectives. But I still really liked it. Now, I did technically get 4 books. 3 of them I got from a library sale where you fill a reusable shopping bag with books, movies, there were CDs from my local library of like stuff that's gone out of circulation and stuff that's donated. So I went there with my mom and my nephew. I had wanted to do a vlog while I was there, but it was way too crowded and I was getting anxious. So I scrapped that vlog, but my nephew got a few books, my mom got a lot of movies, and I got 3 books. I would hold them up for you, but I have already wrapped them in tissue paper to put on my shelf. They are the full collection of all 5 Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy in one volume. Then there's, I believe the title is When Women Turned into Dragons, or When Women Were Dragons. And then Binti was the other one that I caught, which I almost missed. So I'm glad that I went through the fantasy shelves one more time to find that one. Those 3 together are classified as one because we just shared the same reusable shopping bag and it cost $10 for the whole thing. So if you divide it all up between everything, the books were maybe 10 cents each. Maybe 50.
Always a workaround.
Always a workaround. The other book I got it at a thrift store. I had never seen this edition of the book from any time I had seen other, book talkers talking about it, or booktubers. Book talkers are on, Instagram talking about this book, and I had always been kind of interested in it, and that is Bunny by Mona Awad. So I know that this has to do with a girl, she's getting her master's in, I think it's creative writing or just writing. My receipt from the thrift store. She's getting her MFA at a New England university. I'm in New England. And so she joins this clique of writing people. There are other people in the writing program. They all call each other Bunny. So it's got a little bit of a dark academia vibe. And then I heard that there was plus size representation. I've heard mixed reviews on if it was good or bad representation. But I've heard one review where it was it's not great representation, but then every other review I've ever heard of it, they don't even mention it. So I was just curious. And I've never seen the cover with the bunny being orange. I've always ever seen the bunny black on a pink background, or pink on a white background, I think. But I've never seen the bunny orange. And that's my favorite color. So thank you so much for watching. Put down below the books that you've read recently. If you've read any of the ones that I have, what were your thoughts on them? And I will see you guys in another new video soon. A bientôt!